Hello, welcome to our Module 5 lab video. Today, Hayden and Xuan will introduce various systems of shark for you. In general, we will talk about digestive system, circulatory system, urinary system, and reproductive system. Each system has their typical anatomic structures and functions. While some of them might share certain parts with others, and only if all systems work together and help each other will an organism living a good life.
Hello everyone, I will first be talking about the digestive anatomy of the shark. So first in the shark, we have along the jaws, they actually have teeth, which is derived bone coming from the mesoderm, the ectoderm, and neural crust tissues. Sharks have teeth because they actually chew on their food instead of filter. They still filter feeding like plankton and stuff, but they also are at the top of their food chain, and the reason that is the case is because their teeth allow for them to eat different sea creatures, like bony fish. And they continue to regrow teeth after they fall out. Next, we have the pharynx, which is a little different in the shark. As in previous vertebrates, it actually was used for like breathing purposes, but now we have it using for a digestive purpose, which is to help bring food to the esophagus, and the papillae in the esophagus help bring it down to the stomach. The stomach is an elongated and J-shaped structure in the body. It has acids which help break down the food to help pass along a digestive. The rugae in it, which is a really interesting part of the stomach, actually allows the animal to overfeed by allowing the stomach to expand, which is really important because sharks aren't like us in the sense that they can't just get food whenever they want, so they pretty much eat what they can get whenever they want, or when they eat what they can because they don't know when their next meal is going to be. Food from the stomach then moves into the valvular intestine through the spiral valve into the intestine, which is the major site of digestion. Next we should talk about is the accommodating digestive organs that I might have forgot to mention earlier, which include the liver and the pancreas. The liver and pancreas have ducts that empty into the duodenum. In most sharks, the liver is very large and actually has two different lobes, and bile is secreted from the liver. The sharks eat a lot of things, so it's super helpful to have large livers to help secrete bile, which helps to digest his food to create energy so the shark can keep on swimming. The pancreas consists of a ventral lobe and pretty much just drops acid into the duodenum, helps it move along. And that should be it for the digestive. Next, we will be talking about the circulatory system. First with the heart, then we'll be talking about the arteries and veins. So first we should mention the structures of the heart, the four chambers of the heart, which consist of the conus arteriosus, the ventricle, the atrium, and the sinus venosus. In the shark, oxygen poor blood flows into the sinus venosus, and then that blood is pumped through the sinoatrial valve into the atrium, which is a pouch-like chamber. From the atrium, the blood is then pumped through the atrioventricular valve into the ventricle. Notice how I keep saying valves. Valves prevent backflow. And then from the ventricle, it goes to the ventricle pumps blood into the conus arteriosus. And like I mentioned, heart valves prevent the backwash of blood, thereby continue with unidirectional blood flow, which is, blood continues from the conus into the ventral aorta, which is then pumped out to the rest of the body. However, in sharks, an interesting fact is that their deoxygenated blood actually returns to the heart, which is unlike many other vertebrates, as we'll see later. Next, I will be talking about systemic circulation in the dogfish shark. Blood becomes oxygen rich in the capillaries once it goes through the gills through countercurrent exchange, and is collected by four complete collector loops called hollow branches, and also one called the hemibranch. Collector loop will sit around an internal gill slit while consisting of different branches. Blood from the collector loops flow through 4 efferent branchial arteries, and this goes to form the dorsal aorta. So basically, efferent branchial arteries lead into the gills from the aortic arches. Blood then flows from the gills through collector loops, and the oxygenated blood travels into the afferent with an A, and then this one's the efferent with an E branchial arteries, which continue into the dorsal aorta. The dorsal aorta continues as a pair of vessels. The internal carotid artery, which we have here, then passes through the carotid foramen to supply the brain, which is really important. The first collector loop originates in the external carotid artery, which supplies blood to the jaw muscles, which would then lead to helping the digestive system, including also the respiratory, because it needs jaw muscles to both breathe and to digest. A hypobranchial artery arises from the second collector loop, which also supplies blood to the heart. A pair of lateral subclavian arteries arise from the dorsal aorta, and these are like similar to other arteries because it has divergent branching, which is seen in the subclavian artery. The first branch is the lateral artery, which feeds into muscles. Second is the ventral lateral artery, which also does the same. And then the third is the anterior epigastric artery, which brings blood down to the ab muscles. At almost the exact point where the ventrolateral artery rises, the subclavian continues deep into the branchial artery, supplying the tissues of the pectoral fin and the surrounding area. Finally, veins in which blood is transported from capillaries in tissues of one or more organs to capillaries in tissues of the same or different organs before reaching the heart form a portal system.
Hayden had a very nice job on digestive system and the circulatory system. Now let's turn back to Xuan's part. In our lives, waste kinds of have 2 different types: the solid feces and the liquid urines. The eliminated waste is generally controlled by the urinary system, which normally includes the kidney, the ureters, bladder, and urethra. This system filters our blood, removing waste and excess water, and so this waste becomes urine. However, there is a little bit differences in sharks. When a shark needs to get rid of waste, it utilizes its kidneys, genitals, the cloaca, and gills. The cloaca is an opening that the kidneys and genitals empty into. Anatomy observations show that shark kidney consists of a pair of kidneys that are located along body cavities, the ventral to vertebra. Shark's kidney has an elongated shape, almost the entire length of the peritoneal cavity, and the inside part is brown in color. Shark's kidney consists of 3 parts, namely the anterior part, the head kidney, the medial part, the body kidney, and the posterior part, the tail kidney. Adult fish kidney is mesoniferous kidney, which consists of about 70 to 80 tubules that form the mesoniphoric duct. There is a cortex in the kidneys of shark. The cortex is in a capsule and is dark color. Whereas to overcome dehydration, sharks also absorb water through the gills and can produce running urine that is maintained in blood. A fun fact is that cartilaginous fish like shark is the only vertebrate that can maintain urea in their bloodstream. Thus, the shark's blood concentration is closer to seawater concentration, and they do not need to drink excess seawater. As a result, the blood contains urea that is sufficient to be hypotonic to seawater, but the excess urea will be excreted by the kidney and gills. In the way of the gills, we can compare this with gas exchange, similar to the oxygen and carbon dioxide exchange in the gills. The extra urea might diffuse out of blood into the water and then excreted in the sea. On the other hand, the kidney will form urine, and the urine is drained from the caudal end of the kidney through an accessory urinary duct into cloaca through the urogenital papilla. The picture with 3 red circles points out the cloaca, the place between the claspers in the male sharks. Among them, the left circle is urogenital papilla. A sac ejects sperm and urine. The red hole is cloacal opening, where excretes feces from digestive system, and the middle or the posterior one is abdominal pore. Alright, these are 2 different pathways to eliminate waste in the sharks. Alright, our last part is about the reproductive system. The reproductive system in males and females are quite different in sharks, especially the expression of the primary sex organs. Besides, a very typical character in male sharks is that their caudal fins will turn into clasper, as well as the organs to hug female sharks when mating. This picture shows our specimen in lab. Based on the character I just mentioned, the claspers, it's obvious that we have a male dogfish shark. Thus, we will focus on male parts more. In the male shark, the reproductive system kind of easier and much simpler than the one in females. The primary sex organs are the testes, occurring dorsal to the liver and suspended by a supporting mesentery called the mesochium. The sperm are conveyed from the testes through afferent ductules into epididymis, modified kidney tubules. Where is the cranial end of the kidney? There is a gland named the Leydig's gland, no longer urinary in function, but contributes to the productive fluid and the testosterone. Then the sperm enters the ductus deferens, the seminal vesicle, sperm sac, and finally ejected from the urogenital papilla into the groove and flushed with the water. Unfortunately, they will be siphoned into the female's reproductive tract and fertilized with eggs internally.